It is. Guess what, folks? It's showtime right now. Right now. I am back. Welcome to another edition of the Willie Bragg Show. I am your host, Willie Bragg. I hope each and every one of you are doing well today. This is the time of the week. It's called the Willie Bragg Show, Saturday night feature, where the Willie Bragg Show is basically in partnership with KRTD Media, where as part of independent social media, where we kind of help and promote each other in the name of actually spreading the word and about, because we're pretty much locked out of the system when it comes to social media in general, because it's all about the algorithms and everything. Everything is basically stacked against us by corporate media today. And so we have to all kind of work together to make sure basically that we get the word out and promote alternative voices to what is the mainstream narrative these days. So anyway, so I'm glad to see you all here. So let me start by saying, press the like button. If you're watching it through YouTube on KRTD Media, press the like button. Same on my show here on YouTube. Press the like button. It helps with the algorithms. I just said it over and over again. Hit the subscribe button, the notification bell. Help make these channels grow. Follow on Twitter and Facebook and all the other forums, Twitch, and all the other areas of social media. You'll find KRTD Media on and the Willie Bragg Show on as well. So there is that. And remember, we have super chats. So for the KRTD Media. So I will gently remind everybody every few minutes, very gently, about that. So a couple of announcements to make. Let's see. There will be essentially, there's a couple of interviews I'm going to be working on soon. Jamar Jabari will be interviewed at 7 p.m. on Monday. 7 p.m. on Monday. He's going to be here on my show. He's from the Jamar Jabari podcast, and he also co-hosts Tommy Nation's Politics with Thomas Sawberry's on Tuesdays. And he's going to be talking about the Peace March this past weekend, today in Washington, D.C. that I was not able to attend, but I was there in spirit. So there is that. So anyway, and that kind of segue into what we're going to be talking about with regard to censorship. It happened to me. I became a victim of censorship, and I'm not trying to make it all about me, but I became a victim of censorship this past week on Twitter. I got suspended for about 12 hours. And I'm not going to go into detail, but because I used some very bad language towards somebody that I was in an argument with online. He Basically, it was over Russia, Ukraine, and he made some very horrible allegations against me, which were untrue. And I made some suggestions of what he can do with himself, and I threw some F bombs and I threw an R bomb at him, and and apparently, Twitter wasn't too appreciative of it, so I got put on suspension for about 12 hours. I was told that I might have been attacked by NAFO, which I'm going to go into, but I don't think that I was attacked by NAFO. I think it was basically what I said to this person, which was really weird because I didn't even usually, if I'm about ready to say something super offensive to somebody, Twitter will flag me and tell me, do I really want to say this? And it gives me a chance to edit myself. And I didn't. I wasn't given that option this past this particular incident, this particular time. So there is that. So, but I do want to say that it's amazing who can say what and get away with, and how horrible Twitter has gone in regard to Elon Musk taking over. It wasn't wonderful prior to Elon Musk. I would argue that it was probably never a proper forum to begin with. But what happens is that basically Twitter has gotten to the point where they would say that, oh, free speech would mean bringing Donald Trump back to Twitter. Well, okay, I had no problem with bringing him back to Twitter. You need the entertainment. But here's the thing. Free speech does not mean bring Donald Trump back to Twitter. Suspend and punish leftist podcasters and Twitter and journalists and people of that nature, or individuals who are on Twitter. Does not mean that, but to the far right, it means that. Not every person on the right, but to many, because there's this mindset that in America, and there's many people in the political middle that really believes that the only people who practice censorship is on the left. And they really do believe that almost everybody on the right are concerned about free speech. But what they don't realize is that cancel culture and censorship has been pretty much a mantra of a lot of conservatives over the years. I mean, and in fact, I will give you an instance. I won't mention any names, but somebody I knew when I was in college, a nutcase right-wing individual that was kind of a stereotype of what you would imagine an unpleasant right-winger to be, in every cultural sense of the term. And one of my friends, when I was addressing cancel culture on the right, who knew this person and knew what a moron this person was, told me, I don't know of any conservatives that practice cancel culture. And this person is middle of the road as he can be. I mean, he's not a right winger. He's obviously not a left winger, not a right winger either. This person is really as straight down the middle as this person can be. A good guy, but kind of misguided in that regard. So anyway, my point is, that is my point. That and look, I think that there's been censorship on the left. I have called it out, in the almost last decade, and and for a while, I mean, I felt like I was, felt like I was the only crazy man around. It's like there's nobody around that feels the same way I do. But then I found a community of people eventually that felt the same way that I do. That and some of them are to my left, and some of them are are where I'm at. Some of them are slightly a little more moderate than I am, but we're all kind of left leaning, regardless that we are concerned about the ongoing censorship that takes place. So when I'm going to talk about, the first person I'm going to talk about is Garland Nixon. And I've seen Garland Nixon speak at the Assange rally back in October, and he spoke at Rage Against the War Machine last month. So his Twitter account, he's back on Twitter, by the way, but he was taken down from Twitter back in like about 4 months ago, something like that. But anyway, what I'm going to do is I'm going to play you the video on from the Jimmy Dore show where Garland Nixon is talking about his being censored right there. So let me go ahead and do that, and then I'll make some comments on it. So give me a moment here, and we'll get started. All right. There we go. And all right.
We have a special guest with us. He's a former police officer and criminal justice adjunct professor. He received the National Stand Award from the American Civil Liberties Union for his work on criminal justice reform and police misconduct. He is the host of the progressive radio show News Views with Garland Nixon and the political analyst in Washington, D.C. Please welcome friend of the show, Garland Nixon. Hi, Garland.
Hey, thanks for inviting me, Jim.
So it's a bad times to be saying hi to you. I understand. I want to let people know what happened to you. You tweeted, you got banned from Twitter.
Permanently. Suspended.
Permanently.
Yeah.
And so here's what the tweet was that got you banned. You said Secretary Blinken's to-do list, blow up Nord Stream pipeline, check, did it. Overthrow Pakistani government, check, did it. Try to rub out Imran Khan. Who is that?
He's the former Prime Minister of Pakistan, who overthrew, and then he
they tried to do
he got shot in the leg. Luckily, they didn't get him.
More money for Azov Nazis. 4, Istanbul go boom. 5, personally strangle some Palestinians to death with your bare hands. Now that's obviously a joke. So that's obviously a joke, and you got banned for all this stuff is actually accurate, except for that one, which is obviously a joke. And so you got this happened. Your account, Garland Nixon, has been suspended for violating Twitter rules, specifically for violating our rules against hateful conduct. You may not promote violence against, threaten, or harass other people. You weren't. On the basis of race, ethnicity, you weren't doing that. You weren't threatening anyone. You were saying this guy, you were making an exaggerated joke about what the Secretary of State, a very powerful person, does metaphorically.
Yeah.
Note that if you attempt to evade a permanent suspension by creating new accounts, we will suspend your new accounts. If you wish to appeal the suspensions, please contact our support team. So,
trying to contact the support team is next to impossible sometime, and I know that from personal experience on YouTube and Twitter. But and you got a situation where a lot of people on the right said, well, the left doesn't have a sense of humor. Well, here's the area where the left is having a sense of humor. And you can see, Garland Nixon's Twitter account was taken down. And where was the lie in all on his humor-based tweet? Where was the lie that got him really pulled down? I mean, we know. I never really talk a lot about the Nord Stream pipeline, but you got to remember that there were no weapons of mass destruction in Iraq. You also got to remember that the Gulf of Tonkin incident was a farce. You got to remember, you got to remember these things that they'll go and try to make all these sort of false claims to go and invade. And even with the Panama invasion in 1989, it was to cover up their tracks from the U.S. partnership with Manuel Noriega. Again, I'm not going to try to go into too much detail because I got to tread very lightly, because I know what social media likes to do to people when, and not that I'm trying to exaggerate my sense of self-importance, but I know what social media likes to do to people who tends to be, who wants to call out the BS that happens in this country, in relation inside this country and around the world. So, okay, let's continue.
Elon Musk says, as is obvious to all but the media, there is not one permanent ban on even the most far left account. So that's a lie. That's not true, because he just banned you.
And I'm far left. Well, and here's the thing about it, Jim. Yeah, go ahead.
So is everything in your tweet accurate then? Go ahead.
Yeah. So here's the bottom line. Certainly, it's satire. Saturday Night Live, comedians do satire. I have a lot of fun on Twitter, and I do satire. But the problem, I think, with this tweet is that I went after the establishment narrative on foreign policy, on the treatment of Palestinians, etc. And that's not allowed. So it was obviously, clearly, it has to be satire for this reason, because I don't write Tony Blinken's to-do list. So clearly it couldn't be an actual literal to-do list. It had to be satire. And it says hateful conduct. Here's the thing about it. Lindsey Graham literally said he called for the assassination of Vladimir Putin. The guy, Borelli is the former CEO of Venezuela's oil company. He threatened to murder Nicolas Maduro, right? Adam Kinzinger, you can find where he's threatening to beat people up. So you can find any number of tweets that actually would fit the standards that they set forward regarding hateful conduct. Mine is just comedy, and it doesn't. Why I think this particular instance is of great consequence is because Elon Musk said, this is going to be different. I'm buying it, and I'm buying this now, and it's going to be free speech. And of course, we claim we would always argue and say, yeah, well, it's free speech unless you go after the establishment narrative. I went after the establishment narrative, and in opposition to their own actual rules, they suspended me. And might I add, it said you could appeal. I tried to appeal. I wrote up my little appeal. I clicked, and it said, oops, something went wrong. I kept a screenshot of that. It said, oops, something went wrong. I then checked my email. The second I tried to appeal, I got another email that said, this is a permanent suspension. You can't appeal it. You can't do anything. You're done. So, but the bottom line is, as you've heard many times, meet the old boss, the new boss, same as the old boss.
Well, here, Dan Cohen, friend of the show, he kind of caught this, that you were the victim of a NAFO, the troll army of NAFO. What does NAFO stand for? Do you know?
It's North Atlantic Fellows Association.
That's it, Fellows.
It's a U.S. intelligence agency sponsored troll farm that's started by this guy that's like a Nazi supporting guy in Poland. Oh, what a shock!
So he figured that out. So it's these NAFO troll farms that are pro-war, pro-Ukrainian war, all that stuff. And then here they are bragging about it. They show when you report a tweet, Twitter will then send you a report back, and they're posting the reports back saying we took down that guy's stuff, and they're bragging about it. Hey, everyone, the Garland Nixon clown has been taken down. They win.
And let me give advice for people who have to deal with NAFO's accounts. If you see anything that looks like a little Siberian Eskimo dog or something like that in a military uniform, or any dog in a military uniform, don't encounter it. Don't try, just block it. That is my advice to people. Just block it. Don't deal with it, because they mass report, and they will try to bring down large and small content makers alike, and that's what they're known for. And so just kind of beware of NAFOs.
Right. And here's what, because I had some people say to me, well, you put the word strangle in, and that may have been caught an algorithm. I'm like, yeah, a week and a half ago, because it was like a week and a half ago or so. Yeah. 7 to 10 days ago, I did this tweet, and then all of a sudden, out of the blue, boom, 9 o'clock in the morning, I get an email that, okay, you're gone. So if the algorithm would have caught it, it would have caught it immediately, number one. But number two, It wasn't the algorithm. It was these people all sending something to Twitter, which means this. It means somebody at Twitter literally looked at that tweet, read it, and said, let's suspend this guy.
Yeah.
And what reason would they have for suspending something that's obviously satire?
They let people advocate for war on Twitter all the time. They let people advocate for assassinations on Twitter. They let people advocate for nuclear war.
And that's actually the biggest point right there. When it comes to foreign policy, we're talking about people are literally advocating for things like nuclear war, and those that calls it out, they're the ones that they get punished, and they're the ones that they're the ones that people want to view as being insane. And I don't think it's insane to be against nuclear war. I remember back in the days of Ronald Reagan, you were considered on the left if you were trying to urge people to calm yourselves down when it comes to this nuclear arms race and dealing with countries with nuclear power or nuclear weaponry, like the Soviet Union back then, or even going back earlier when Nixon dealt with China. When you're dealing with countries with nuclear weapons, I mean, it is absolutely insane to try to say, hey, bring it on. In recent years, you saw what happened with the Iran deal. Never really been a fan of Barack Obama, but one of the best things he's done was the Iran peace deal. And you want to know why Donald Trump ripped that deal into a gazillion little pieces? I will tell you why. It is because he was trying to appeal to the secular neocons, the people who cheerlead the Bush-Cheney foreign policy doctrine. And he was also trying to appeal to the evangelicals in the Republican Party who he basically wants Iran and Israel to toss nukes at each other to try to start what they view as some kind of second coming or whatever. This is insanity and everything. And so we can, we're a left-leaning audience. We can look at that and we're really like, look at those silly fundamentalists. They're scary. But then you got people who are supposed to be progressive, and we're looking at this situation between Russia and Ukraine, and just like wanting to go and start World War III. How are these progressives? How are they any different from these 700 Club neocon Republicans? How are they any different? Or how are they any different from the Marjorie Taylor Greens, who might be a stop clock, given the right time twice a day on funding to the Ukraine, but wanting to go and start a war with Mexico over the border? Oh, we got to go and secure our border. And what? Go and invade Mexico? Because Lindsey Graham, Lindsey Graham's worse because he wants to start a nuclear war with Russia, but he also wants to invade the border with Mexico, and he wants to go and start a war with China. Probably in the U.S. Senate, I used to say Mitch McConnell was one of the worst people around, but I'm beginning to think maybe Lindsey Graham might be one of the worst people in existence right now. And how stupid the people of South Carolina have to be to keep voting for that moron. How stupid can people be? But suffice to say, but that's the point I'm trying to make. Garland Nixon, a truth teller, whistleblower that calls out on censorship. As I said, we're talking about a man who's an advocate for Julian Assange. We're talking about a man who's an advocate for Ed Snowden, and we're talking about somebody who favors free speech and all of that. And this is who the right go after and shut them down. That's where the hypocrisy. The hypocrisy that exists burns me up. I'm not a red team, blue team person. I'm a right left person, not a red team, blue team person. I'm tribalistic. Now I'm a tribalistic person of goodwill. If there's some people on the right who are, independent thinking conservative, or somebody who's libertarian leaning, that's on our side, I embrace such persons, and I have no beef with such persons. So there is that. So let me go and continue to this next story, because it's not just a very fairly well known person like Garland Nixon. Somebody else that he keeps getting his channels shut down, and that would be Joe, STFU, Ventlove. Basically, he's got his channel shut down several times on his account several times on Twitter, and now they're going after him on they keep going after him and shutting him down, and they shut him down so many times that the poor guy had to go back on Facebook occasionally. So but anyway, he makes great video content on YouTube and all that and everything. And I think this is part of the reason why that they decided to make an example out of him. As far as I'm concerned, I mean, I like the stuff he does. Kind of like Turncoat Don. He recognized the BS behind everything, and he gives you that cynical edge, but a cynical edge that puts a smile on your face, because you're just like, yep, it's the way I see the world too. Yep. So anyway, I'll give you a little example of his work here, and I'll comment. Hold on tight here. And I will be talking to everybody on the chat line shortly. So there's that. Give me a moment.
My name is Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez.
In November, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez became the youngest woman ever elected to Congress. Just a few days later, as soon as she got to Washington, she paid a visit to climate change activists who were occupying her party leader Nancy Pelosi's office. She was the only newly elected member of Congress who decided to drop by during the sit-in.
I just don't want to let them down. Start bringing the ruckus on the Democratic Party. No, I think that we need new leadership. I think the idea that we should have the same leadership for more than one generation is probably a mistake. Nancy Pelosi, that's Mama Bear of the Democratic Party. You know?
Oh, they got us good. They got us good, didn't they?
We need to shift power. We need to make sure that we have a transition of power in the leadership of the Democratic Party.
They got us good, man.
What the Bronx and Queens needs is Medicare for all.
When people really take the look at these bills, how brilliantly the single-payer plan stands out.
So a single-payer public option would drive down costs.
Reasons of security, reasons of savings that spring also from the simplicity of the program.
Additionally, through its ability to negotiate on health services and drug prices. Isn't that right?
That's very true.
Nothing's going to happen. Democratic Party does not do more unless it is pushed. So we need to push them.
We're in the middle of a deadly pandemic, and AOC is telling you to wait. I'm not going to risk my careerism to get you health care. That's exactly what she's saying.
So, and again, with Nancy Pelosi, they fucking snuck in through the back door. Like literally. They weren't there at first, and it was like, oh my God, you see, look, they're such heroes. They're not voting for Pelosi.
Cortez. Ocasio-Cortez.
And they all of them, every single one of them, Cory Bush, Bowman, all of them, they came and fucking voted for Pelosi. Oh God.
Omar. Pelosi.
What is that? You fucking lied. You're a liar. That is a fucking lie. Look, the receipts are right there. You fucking lied. You said you were going to use your leverage to push for $15 minimum wage. And then what did you do? You fucking voted for this bill without the $15 minimum wage. You could have put your foot down. Look, you only needed 9 votes. They're liars. Look, I brought receipts. Are you going to deny the receipts? This is the receipt. Look, it's not some vague kind of Your reference. What is wrong with you? What happened to you?
I mean, there are a lot of Trojan horses. You know, there are a lot of folks that say, vote for me. I am this intersection of different identities, but at the same time, they still try to advance or are primarily financed by special interests. So it doesn't necessarily...
Gaslighting, bullshitting actress.
The Biden administration is well within their right to seek a diplomatic resolution to this issue, one that does not hurt the Ukrainian people, but allows them to exercise their right to self-determination.
You know what's actually real? That AOC sent weapons to Ukraine. Look, here are the votes, the 40 billion which they sent over. So look who voted for this. You got AOC. There you go. She voted for this.
Maybe we should just start voting on things based on whether we think it's right or not, and stop pretending that this shit's complicated, because it's not. You're either with the people, or you're with that mob. It's pretty clear cut.
You voted to mobilize and send money to Ukrainian Nazis. You're a coward. I believed in you, and you became the very thing you sought to fund. You were the chosen one. It was said that you would destroy this and not join them. Bring balance to the force, not leave it in darkness. I hate you. I loved you.
I mean, you want me to sit here and accept this? You are on some fucking crack. You are on fucking crack if you think I'm going to sit here and accept this. God, her mask has come right off. I mean, like, in every regard. These motherfuckers. Oh, they're smart. Oh, they're good. But she wants you to believe that she's a progressive, and then she endorses a fucking Republican who is diametrically opposed to every single fucking thing that Bernie Sanders was proposing. When they're saying she's not endorsing Cori Bush, that's a fact. You can Google it. It's not somebody's op-ed or opinion at a fucking mainstream media news outlet. That's a fact. You can Google that. She's not endorsing progressives, right? People who even ran with her. She's like, oh, I got mine, bitch. I'm done. Go fuck yourself.
The United States is running concentration camps on our southern border. What we saw today was unconscionable. No child should ever be separated from their parent.
Got a lot of grief for using the word concentration camps. Do you regret that? Or do you think people misinterpret it?
But when you rip a baby out of the hands of a mother, you cannot draw the same comparison.
This term, concentration camp, has completely disappeared from her lexicon, from her vocabulary. Yes, Joe Biden has not only continued the same policies as Trump, he's even reopened the exact same facilities as we saw in Carrizo, Texas, Donna.
One is not the same.
It's called Biden Brings Back Family Separation, this time in Mexico. You still have unaccompanied minors in the United States. There is still family separation. The only difference is that instead of the U.S. federal agents doing it inside the United States, Biden has resolved to forcing families to part ways before their children even enter the United States.
And I will not give $1 to black box detention facilities.
The children are still entering the United States unaccompanied. Yeah, that's the only difference.
Okay. Yeah, I'm sorry that was a little bit on the long side, but you get the point there. He makes these videos, and my point is that he was shut down a couple of times, and it's because for whatever reason, I think that people will mass report him or what have you, and obviously that's what's happened. So he'll be gone for a little while, and then he'll come back and all that, and just. And it's like, I'm like, I don't think that he's going around like offending people unless just disagreeing with somebody is enough to offend people. But that's kind of where we're at today in this country. Just having a difference of opinion, no matter how nuanced it is, will will get somebody suspended or cancel cultured. They'll cancel you over a difference of opinion. This is unhealthy, people. This is really unhealthy in our what's supposed to be a democracy. It is unhealthy, and that's what it comes right down to. So, again, somebody told me the other day, and before, let me just stop for a second and say that we have what's called chat super chat. So just a little gentle reminder that if you can, KRTD could use some could use some money to fund independent media. So that's all I'm going to say right now, and I'll continue. But they're out there to try to silence you and me and everybody else, and it's everybody's trying to do this to each other. You got the purple hair SJWs that people used to talk about doing this to everybody, whether it's the actual right or even sometimes fellow progressives, they'll do this to. Or in some cases, then you'll have these corporate Democrats who wants to appear normal to middle of America, but then they'll borrow some of the tactics of the woke skulls and look more abnormal while not being afraid to take bold steps, because to take bold economic leftist progressive measures will make you look like you're basically being too much of a Marxist or what have you. I'm not an ML. I'm not a Marxist Leninist or anything of that nature, but I'd much rather be called a Marxist Leninist than to be called an SJW or what have you, because I'm an independent thinker, folks, and that will get you in trouble sometimes. That will get you in trouble, and I've been in trouble with a lot of people from across the political spectrum for speaking my mind occasionally, and so on that occasion I'll get some pushback, but it's the price you have to pay when you manage to upset everybody from across the spectrum, which I have done pretty much all my life. So there is that. Well, let's get started with get back to this NAFO thing. What was called that Garland Nixon was talking about earlier, because I think most of us know what they are, but we need to talk more about NAFOs. So let's talk about them. Okay. Let me go ahead and set it up here. And I don't know how well you can see the screen and all that, but it's a Wikipedia thing. It's a good way to get acquainted with to get some solid information about them. So the North Atlantic Fellows Organization is a play on NATO. The North Atlantic Treaty Organization is an internet meme and social media movement dedicated to countering Russian propaganda and disinformation about the 2022 Russian invasion of Ukraine. It's been categorized as a form of information warfare. And there's a lot of obsession over what is called misinformation. And as I said, when I got pulled down, I don't think it was NAFOs, but I think they were people, they were posters, they were adjacent to NAFOs that I managed to get trolled by and all that. And I decided that I'm not going to deal with such types anymore. Anyway, in addition to posting irreverent commentary, quote unquote, about the war memes, promoting Ukraine and mocking the Russian war effort strategy of blank posting, the group also raises funds for the Ukraine military and other pro-Ukrainian causes. And remember, those causes in Ukraine that it also funds Nazis in the Ukraine. You know, we're talking about a country that celebrates Stefan Bandera. We're talking about a country that has a record on LGBTQ that's more repressive than Russia, and Russia's pretty bad. We're talking about a country that blesses a kill list against people who are critical of Ukraine. We're talking about the kill list that talks about, you know, they urge. I mean, I don't really want to say it because it sounds like I'm going to be urging it. I'm not, but they're urging to go after fairly well-known people around the world for their position on the Russia-Ukraine conflict. And you know, and to have the U.S. government tolerate this is absolutely just wrong as it can be. And you know, and if you really think about it, to allow these trolls, NAFOs, to go around doing their thing, mass reporting and all that, you know, this goes against a lot of free speech, because apparently people can't hold what they view as an unorthodox opinion on the Russian-Ukraine conflict. Yeah, it's true that some people, there are people that openly support and are rooting for Putin, but there are people who are not for one side or the other, and that would be me. I am not for, yes, I'm not for Ukraine, but I'm not for Russia either. But I'm for the Ukrainian people and I'm for the Russian people. I'm just not for the government of either nation, and that's what it comes down to. And so anyway, and you know, let me continue. The representation for NAFO or fella is a Shiba Inu dog, often used as an avatar, sometimes described as a cartoon dog. And Shiba is in a soldier clothing. According to The Economist, NAFO philanthropy obscures its role as a remarkably successful form of information warfare. So, and they're mostly on Twitter. And the thing about it is, with regard to NAFOs, is that if you, as I said earlier, if you ever see these things online, you go and just block them. Don't deal with these things. And give you an illustration of what they may, when you run across one, what one may look like. So I'm not going to say they look exactly like this, but this is potentially how one would look when you run across one online right now. So it would be something along these lines here, and it looks innocuous, it looks cute and what have you, but you run across something like this, you know, online in whatever forum, don't deal with it. Just block it, because they're out to there. If you have that unorthodox opinion, they're gonna try to shut you down. So that is my advice when it comes to NAFO. Just don't deal with it. They're bad news, honestly. So there is that. Let's see here. What the point I'm trying to make is, and is this is what we have to contend with right now. And it's not just Twitter. I mean, it's on YouTube, it's on Facebook. This sort of thing happens. Even you know, back in the days of MySpace. I mean, this has been an ongoing thing. You know, I remember, and sometimes it depends on who you are, because you know, one time I was told by a Kahanas that I should have been wrapped in barbed wire because you know, because you know, some supporting a group like Moretz was just considered a horrible thing to do. And for those that don't know what Moretz is a pro-peace left-wing party in Israel that's pro-Palestinian, and the right wing absolutely hate this group, and they're a socialist party that's unfortunately in the last election was voted out of the parliament. They don't even have any representation in the parliament anymore, in the Knesset. But for those that don't know about the political party makeup in the country, and I was told that I should have been wrapped in barbed wire for saying something nice about a pro-human rights group in that country. And a Kahanis is a Kahanis, for those that doesn't know, is a right-wing movement affiliated with the Jewish Defense League in the 1960s, 70s, and 80s. That in America, but in Israel, they were in a right-wing party called Kache, I believe it was. That was so far to the right that it was banned for years. But there's like new versions of it that exist, and they're now in their government right now. So. They're so far to the right that they make Benjamin Netanyahu, who is a war criminal, look like a moderate. So there is that. But, reporting someone who said I should be wrapped in barbed wire, nothing gets done to the person. It's my point. But, calling somebody an effing R word, I get taken down. That's my point. That is my point. And it's just various forums has happened where, I will be taken down from a group. Well, I'll be defending myself and I'm defending myself from getting attacked. And then nothing happens to the person who will attack me. But if I retaliate, then I'm the one that gets punished. And that is a representation of what happens, that was what happens, in the broader scheme of things in relation to the left and all of that. This is not 100% connected, but it sort of fits into what I need to say because it still connects as far as censorship is concerned. And I don't know. I mean, it's not really being talked about, but I have been warning people here in America about the dangers of Ron DeSantis down in Florida, the governor of Florida. I call him the fascist governor of Florida. And, I keep on hearing about how much freedom there is in Florida, but every time I watch the news, it seems like every few weeks that there's like something new where there's an authoritarian measure by the state of Florida with Ron DeSantis fingerprints on it. And not necessarily talking about chocolate pudding. But anyway, let me go ahead and play this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about this because, if you think about it, when it comes to people who are individually on Twitter, whether we're talking about large personalities or small personalities alike, I guess you could say that every blogger, every commentator, every streamer that's on YouTube and Twitch and some of these other forums, and like on my Twitter profile, I'm listed as a journalist. I'm not a journalist by any stretch of the imagination. Trust me, I'm not. But I'm listed as such. I don't know why I'm listed as such, but I'm not. I wasn't trying to list myself as a journalist, but I list myself as I see myself as a commentator. But we're just going to say, generally speaking, people who reports on the news and all of that, these folks are what was called we're going to say whether you're a blogger or whether you're a streamer or whether you just crap post, anybody I guess would be considered a quote unquote journalist, especially I guess if they are making money too off of this. I guess that's what construed as such. So Kyle Kalinske mentioned this in relation to Florida, and just when you think Florida can't get any more authoritarian, Florida manages to get more authoritarian. So Here we go. I'll play this and I'll comment soon.
One of the issues that the right has really grabbed onto in the past 5 or 6 years is this idea that, hey, the left has gone too far. They're authoritarian. They want to police comedians and their speech, and they want to ban the speakers on campus who don't agree with them, and we're against that. We are pro-free speech. We're pro-free expression. We're in favor of a free press. Basically, like, the First Amendment is our whole thing. We live and die by the First Amendment. That's our main issue. But it's always been kind of astonishing that they can use this rhetoric and market like they're the big believers in the First Amendment, while also, for example, backing Trump, who famously said we should open up our libel laws to go after the media for being unfair and fake news.
That is correct. And nobody's ever called Donald Trump on that. Nobody's ever called Donald Trump on the fact that he favors opening the libel laws and harmonizing it with England. Because Donald Trump attempted to sue Bill Maher, who I'm not a fan of, but he attempted to sue Bill Maher for comparing him to an orange orangutan. And basically, for those not familiar about the libel laws in the UK, and just how horrible those laws are, that if you insult a public figure and they sue you, you as a small individual have to pay for, pretty much for everything across the board, and it could bankrupt folks. This is the kind of thing that Donald Trump wants here in the United States, and I don't necessarily even suffer from Trump derangement syndrome the way that other progressives do. He's a blowhard. He's a grifter. He's a big mouth. I don't really, on one hand, I don't take him seriously, but on the other hand, he says some pretty screwy and scary things. And just harmonizing the laws with the UK version of libel laws is one of those issues right there. So anyway, I'll let him continue.
Sued Bill Maher because Bill Maher made a joke he didn't like. Imagine if a pink-haired kid on a college campus sued a comedian for a joke they didn't like. You would not hear the end of it. It would go on for like weeks. You have segments from Ben Shapiro and Steven Crowder and Michael Knowles and every right-wing commentator you could think of, Dave Rubin. They'd be like, oh my God, authoritarian. And by the way, they would be correct if that actually happened. But that didn't happen. What did happen is Trump suing Bill Maher over a joke. He sued CNN for hundreds of millions of dollars because they said stuff he didn't like. So there's always been this, total breakdown of here's their rhetoric, but here's who they actually support and what they actually support. Well, now we have another crystal clear example of just how insane so the Stop Woke Act, remember that? Parts of that got slapped down. Why? Because the court said this is totally unconstitutional. The Stop Woke Act was, of course, a Ron DeSantis initiative. Well, now look at this. Florida Republican wants any blogger writing about Ron DeSantis to register with the state. Huh? A new bill proposed by a Republican state senator in Florida would require bloggers to register with the state if they write about Governor Ron DeSantis and other members of the government. NBC News Channel 8 wrote that Senator Jason Broder's bill would impose fines on anyone who refuses to register to a maximum of $2,500. There would be an additional $25 each day the fee isn't paid. Senate Bill 1316, Information Dissemination, would mandate that writers register with the Florida Office of Legislative Services or the Commission on Ethics. It would apply to anyone who writes an article, a story, or a series of stories about the governor, the lieutenant governor, a cabinet officer, or any member of the legislature, and is paid for doing so. They would have to register within a 5-day period by the publication of the article or stories. If the blogger writes about any of those lawmakers again, the writer would be required to submit a monthly report on the 10th of every month with the state office. If no content is published that month, they wouldn't have to submit a report. So this is about registering journalists, which, by the way, is totally unconstitutional, totally against the First Amendment. The government is supposed to be out of matters like this, not involved in matters like this. Why? Because you can't trust the government to set up a ministry of truth and determine who is and isn't a journalist, who's allowed and who's not allowed. That's not how journalism works. If you're on the street and there's a police brutality situation, you pull out your phone and record it, and then you post later, you're a journalist. You're a journalist. They want journalists to register with the state. Now, of course, the real reason is they want to try to silence any criticism of them and Ron DeSantis.
Yeah, and he said it best, ministry of truth. Do y'all remember last year when a lot of Republicans, and they were correct when they criticized Joe Biden for the creation of the Disinformation Governance Board and appointing Nina Yankowicz as the head of this governance disinformation board. And there was outcries from the right, and they were correct to be outraged. And the real left were the ones calling it out too, by the way. It was so blatantly anti-First Amendment that they felt the pressure, and they knew that this thing was to continue. They knew, the Democrats knew that they were going to be toast in the 2022 election. I mean, if the Roe versus Wade would not have been overturned last June, just having this disinformation governance board alone would have just carried that little 5-7 seat majority. It was like a 5-seat majority that the GOP has at the moment, a very slim majority. It would have been a little bit bigger than the slim majority they have now. In fact, I think that the GOP would have had a quite larger majority had Roe versus Wade not been overturned. I think that even some of the pro-life activists are probably upset that Roe versus Wade was overturned, but that's another issue for another time. But getting back to what I'm saying here, this basically is a ministry of truth. What the Republicans, have set up down in Florida with regard to criticism against members of the legislature and the lieutenant governor and the governor, like Kyle Kalinske said. And basically this runs against the First Amendment. And it's really setting up a de facto ministry of truth. Of course, you're never going to hear Fox News talk about this. You're never, ever going to hear Fox News or One American News Network or Newsmax talk about it. You're not going to hear it from CNN talk about it or MSNBC. You're not going to hear it from these folks because, they're just dim with it like this. They just, they just don't care about the First Amendment. I mean, they don't. So, and even those that would suffer it under the First Amendment, especially, it would be, they would be, in the case of DeSantis, it would be the left and far left, and perhaps the centrists. But in the broader broader scheme of society, it would be basically, the right and the far right, and they're probably gambling that this could probably do more damage to the right and the far right. But basically, anything and anyone that challenges any kind of a status quo would be silenced under with some of these laws. And so there is that in that regard. So I don't like this law, and it's not because it's going after leftists. I mean, let me put it this way. If I'm trying to think, let's try to think of okay. I voted for Howie Hawkins in 2020 for president. Let's say he became governor of New York. If he ran for governor of New York in the next election, ran for governor of New York, and he came up with this kind of law. I know he wouldn't, but let's say he came up with this law. I would be just as opposed to this law. Okay. All right. I don't care who it is. I mean, you could elect 435 Alexandria Ocasio-Cortezes in the U.S. House of Representatives. You could have 100 Bernie Sanders in the presidencies, and you could have Bernie Sanders, Vice President, Vice President Bernie Sanders. A law like this comes along where you can't go and talk mean about Bernie Sanders. I'm using him as an example to represent the more broader left. I would be opposed to this law. I don't care who you are. I don't care what scenario. I don't care who it is. Left, right, center. I don't care who it is. And I mean that. This is unhealthy in a democratic society. Small d. It's unhealthy for a democratic society to have this sort of shenanigans take place. So anyway, I'll let Kyle continue.
The Florida Republican Party. That's what they want to do. The report also explained that it would apply to concern an elected member of the legislature or an officer of the executive branch. The report would require the person to reveal how much money they're earning for writing the post. If compensation is paid for a series of posts or for a specific amount of time, the blogger would be required to disclose the total amount to be received upon publication of the first post in said series or time frame. The law would also demand bloggers file additional paperwork if they fail to file the initial paperwork. It's a similar law to the lobbying restrictions in Florida and mandates a 30-day timeline for the fines and an additional $25 of fine per day the fine isn't paid. The same rule would not apply to newspapers or similar publications. So they're trying to carve out the legacy outlets, but anybody who's a blog is okay. Stop and think about this, guys. This is a war on independent media. So the legacy outlets are excluded from this. You can keep doing what you do. But if you're a quote-unquote blogger, in other words, if you're not part of an approved outlet or organization or establishment, well, you have to pay to have an opinion. You have to pay to write about the governor. This is clearly censorious. I've never seen anything that is more against the spirit of the First Amendment. This is like when Trump came out and said in a rally, you should punish flag burning with up to a year in jail. Dude, we already had a Supreme Court case on that issue. Even Antonin Scalia, the far-right judge, said, look, I might not like it when they burn the flag, but it's protected speech. This is 100% protected speech. Man, DeSantis and the Florida Republican Party, their way of trying to gain popularity is to go all in on the culture war and go full authoritarian as much as possible. Even that bill, remember that bill where they said, like, a gay teacher can't put a picture on their desk of them and their spouse because that's like grooming kids or whatever in their minds, from their perspective. Like,
yeah, and that's what it comes down to is authoritarianism wrapped in a culture war and wrapped in partisanship. Now, I care less about the partisanship thing because when it comes right down to it, both the Democratic Party and the Republican Party are beholden to the same corporate special interests. It's going to sound cliche, but it's true. Those on the top, we're talking about Democrats and Republicans. I mean, they may have a different view on the culture war issues. Some are pro-life, some are pro-choice, some are, some of them, whatever, some of them are pro-tolerance, others are anti-tolerance, social authoritarian conservatism versus, PC wokesters, what have you. Doesn't matter. They're both beholden to the same corporate special interests, and they both love it when people fight amongst themselves. Ordinary people fight amongst themselves in this country. And so there is that. And this is the power of independent media. Independent media changes conversations. And we know this because back in the 1990s, during the dystopian times, I would say the 1990s all the way to probably the latter half of the Bush-Cheney years. I think things started to turn around by 2005, 2006. Starting to. Talk radio, along with Fox News, kind of was dominated the conversation nationally. You couldn't get a progressive couldn't even begin to get their foot in the door, even on the conversational level, because of so much influence that the right wings had culturally on the politics of this country. Well, and I'm going to say something for just 5 seconds nice about the Young Turks, and that is that for 5 seconds, because I don't like the Young Turks today, but when they entered YouTube in 2005, I think that's when things started to change. So in that regard, they did change the conversation. They were a game changer, because when they came into the scene, they birthed a lot of the online left that exists today. Even a lot of the online left that don't particularly care for the Young Turks, and with good reason that they don't care for the Young Turks. I being one of them, although I used to like them, I don't anymore. But the point I'm trying to make is that they were a game changer in the sense that they started the national conversation, and were able to counter the right wing narratives. And there is an actual left voice out there. You don't feel so like you're like the only crazy person out there anymore. You know, you're like, oh, there are some other crazy people out there beside myself. So there is that. But seriously, so in regard to Kyle, there's a lot of pushback against Kyle by some people on the online left, on some section of the online left, the ones that don't like the Young Turks. And I agree with them about the Young Turks, but and I do have some criticism about Kyle. But Kyle, he's a little bit, he's gotten too much to be a what I call too much of a normie Democrat in many ways. But honestly, his politics is still pretty decent, and he's still, I mean, he did the right thing years ago with the things like force the vote, and he wants to see the left be more progressive and hostile, and instead of docile, the way that the gatekeepers out there, they're content with AOC being standing there just doing nothing and pretending like she's doing something. At least he criticizes AOC. A lot of people say he holds water for AOC. No, he actually criticizes AOC more than he praises her on the show these days. If anybody watches it, you'll see what I mean. And he's approaching close to 1 million. And honestly, when he gets to 1 million subscribers, I'm going to be happy for him. I know some people are not going to like me saying that, but I will be happy for him. But anyway, I'll let him continue.
Like, what are we talking about here? You weren't allowed to wear rainbow colors in some school districts throughout Florida because they were afraid of crossing the line when it came to the new bill. This is crazy, man. This is insane. So, look, my main reason for doing this segment is to say, I know the free speech warriors are going to be all over this. I know Ben Shapiro. I know Dave Rubin. I know all these people who care so deeply about free speech are going to be all over this and saying this is an abomination, this is anti-First Amendment, this is authoritarian, this is unconstitutional, this is about stifling criticism. Don't hold your breath, y'all, because these are not principled people. These are political hacks. Ever since Adpocalypse, when YouTube defunded all independent news and politics.
Anyway, getting back to what I was saying. As I said, the selective outrage of some of these people on the right. As I said, not everyone is guilty of that, but there's a lot. I mean, whenever I hear the right wing talk about free speech, they only talk about free speech for themselves, and they don't really care about the free speech of the left. They don't. But usually when I hear the left talk about free speech, yeah, they'll let you know they don't like the right, but they'll protect the speech of the right. But they'll tell you, hey, this is the problem we have with censorship. Look what's going on with people here on our side. So I want to mention that as well. So we're going to go into our last story here, and this deals with the day of January 6th. It happened on January 6th. 10 minutes after she left, it happened. That event. June Lepine, she went ahead and she went there to discuss censorship with people, and there was a mix of opinions. I'm not surprised that the people at the January 6th rally had a mix of opinions on flag burning. I'm the predictable. I have no tolerance for people who burn the flag. They should be punished. I am not surprised that that was a lot of them there. That's to be expected. But I know there were people who had a more libertarian view on that matter. And they may or may have not actually been involved with January 6th. We don't know. But anyway, we'll listen to what these folks have to say, and I'll comment. So we'll get started on that, and then you know where it goes. All right.
I am not a Trump supporter. I did not support him, and I did not vote for him, but I did think he was like cool in 2016. I didn't take him very seriously, and I for sure did not take people's criticisms of him seriously. I thought he was like this anti-establishment outsider who was gonna like take on the swamp. I quickly found out, of course, that that was not the case, as his administration just spiraled further and further into insanity. He surrounded himself with neocons, did a bunch of weird shit like the trans military ban. He broke some fucking nuclear deals. He even went so far as to break Obama's drone strike high score, which I honestly thought was impossible to do. Also, he did all of this like last minute, literally as he was like walking out the door. Pretty fucked up. In the end, it turned out there was no 4D chess. The president was just retarded. But despite all of that, despite my hatred for the president, unlike my Zoomer comrade who did not want to be there, I was very excited to go to this rally. I was very excited to be around people who disagree with me politically. Because you see, I am not like other liberals. I'm a cool liberal. I'm very open-minded and tolerant of those who disagree with me. And that is the real reason for me going to this rally. To break out of that echo chamber I have found myself in. To fully embrace the free marketplace of ideas. To hear different perspectives and beliefs. To really challenge myself.
I think Sean Head has ulterior motives for going to this Trump rally.
You ready?
Yep.
Oh, shit, I forgot something. Hold that.
What is this?
The husband bag?
The what?
The husband. Don't worry about it. Just hold it. Put it in your backpack. What? Do you want anything from the Trump stand?
I want everything. Oh my god, it's just an actual Biden 2020 shirt.
Oh really?
She's going to. They're both going to go around and they're going to interview people about flag burning, and so I'm going to be commenting on it, and all that. So be patient.
That's right next to the Trump shirt. Equality and capitalism. We're on Black Lives Matter Street. Just write shit on the ground, but no police reform.
We are currently on the
Let's speed it up
First
here.
Amendment to freedom. I went into the lion's den for 2 days with one simple question. Do you think burning the American flag should be legal?
I would say no.
No, I do not.
I think it's treason. No.
No?
No.
I do not believe that it should be legal. However, asterisk, I believe in freedom of speech.
Absolutely. However.
Hell no.
Well, no. It's not very patriotic. You can't burn any flag. It's disrespectful to everybody.
Okay.
Of course not. It's a sacred particle. Boy Scouts, I learned that to retire a flag, burn it. So I don't think it's like inherently wrong.
I think that's blasphemy. I will judge you, but I don't think you should be arrested.
I have no respect for those who did that, but I don't think you should bring a flag to jail.
Should it be illegal to burn the American flag?
I believe in the First Amendment.
Yeah.
So I would not do it, but I would support the right for somebody to do it.
I think when you make it illegal, you're going down a slippery slope.
I believe that as a First Amendment right, that you do have the right to burn the American flag. And I'm a veteran.
Okay.
It disgusts me that people that do.
And before you come at me like, what about pride flags? Yes. What about them? It is legal and should be legal to to burn pride flags, to burn any flag. But shoo, wait, you say, with tears in your eyes. This one guy burned a gay flag and he went to jail for like 18 years. The flag was not his property. He stole it off a church. And he also had a record, which is why his sentence was so high, which I disagree with. But he didn't simply go to jail just for burning a pride flag. Aha, but shoo, wait, you say? Just last week, a Proud Boy was arrested for burning a Black Lives Matter banner. Again, it wasn't his property. And again, he stole it off a church. What is up with people burning church property, you heathens? I actually burned one of my pride flags last year as a joke on Twitter, and people were mad. They can die mad.
I really don't like people burning the American flag. The Proud Boys burned a BLM flag. If that's illegal, it should definitely be illegal to burn the American flag. If it's your property, then perhaps it should be legal, I think.
Well, if you can, then you should be able to burn the Black Lives Matter flag and not get arrested.
Well, what if the Black Lives Matter flag is someone else's property?
If you steal someone's flag and burn it, that's a whole different story.
Day 2.
I'm so nervous to ask you this. Would you guys like to answer a question? No?
No, I'm good, thank you.
Guys, do you want to answer a question?
Yeah, I would get that occasionally. People telling me about, oh, well, they tried throwing that at me about pride flags being burned and somebody being put in prison for 10, 15 years. And it turned out, like she said, it turned out that it was stolen property. And no, you don't have a right to steal somebody's property and burn it. An American flag or a pride flag or any flag at all. You don't have a right to burn any flag that doesn't belong to you. A flag that you bought with your own money, you got a right to burn that. That's free speech, and it does not matter whether I like it or not, or if you like it or not. The First Amendment is not there to protect the speech that we're all for. It's there to protect the speech that's it's there to protect unpopular speech. I mean, it's the easiest thing in the world to protect speech that we're all for. We can all think that the puppies are cute. I mean, where's the controversy in that? I don't think anybody's going to be outraged if somebody say puppies are cute. But there should be more. To have an unpopular opinion and to have people cancel culture you. I mean, that's the problem I have, you watch a TV show and your favorite actor or actress says something politically, not you should care what an actor or an actress or somebody in Hollywood have to say, but if they have a political opinion you don't like and if it offends you that much, instead of trying to go and if you're that upset about it, then don't watch their show anymore. I mean, to me, I just think that's a no-brainer. But anyhow, we'll go on. We'll just continue here. All right.
I'm good.
No? Okay. So I'm left-wing gun girl today. Oh my god, do you think she's here? Oh, she totally is. Oh my god, Lord, please let us run into Gun Girl today. We can make our microphones touch. Caitlin, more touch tips.
Have no fear, Ernie's here.
Do you think it should be legal to burn the American flag?
Absolutely.
Yeah?
Because the Constitution says you can.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't want free speech censored at all.
Yeah, it's the First Amendment issue. Somebody wants to burn it. I suppose I support the right. I served in the military to support people's rights to do a lot of weird things that I don't agree with.
No?
No, I've served in the military. That's not what I served.
It's a free country. If people want to do something, then it's their right to do it as long as you're not hurting other people. I don't care what you do. It should not be legal. Not in this country. Definitely not.
No?
Never learn the person who burns a flag.
Absolutely not. Definitely not. Absolutely not.
No. Heck no.
It's unacceptable, period.
literally wearing something that says the First Amendment, and he's like, no, it should be illegal. Hell no?
Hell no. I think anybody should burn the American flag to have their ass stomped.
No, I don't. No? It's disrespecting. So disrespect should be illegal. Now, if they answered no, my follow-up question was, what's an acceptable punishment for somebody who burns the American flag? And that question produced some interesting answers.
They should not be a citizen of America.
Where should they go?
Where should they go? Cuba, Russia, Germany, China, deported. Yeah. Thank you very much.
The first thought that came to my mind, I'm not going to say, burn them.
Burn them?
How about exportation?
Where would you export them to?
Antarctica is nice this time of year.
You can't hang with overtime. I'm thinking tired of feather, but send them to jail for Preston the John said the 1 year in jail.
1 year in jail? You agree? Yes. Thank you so much.
I think anybody that is caught burning the flag should be hung
Just get their ass whooped
on the spot.
They're incarcerating people for burning the Black Lives Matter sign. I mean, come on, and not doing anything for people that burn an American flag. This country's backwards.
The Black Lives Matter flag is someone else's property. You think that's different?
No, I don't. It's not national property.
Okay.
It's okay to burn the American flag, but then if you burn the Black Lives Matter flag, they come down on you and you actually go to jail for two different standards. With social media, you do see censorship, don't you?
Nationalized Silicon Valley?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Base. Where do you want to send them?
Anywhere they want to go besides America.
Anywhere they want to go. We love immigration, don't we, folks? Jail time? How long?
I just think that type of person should get out of the country and try somewhere else that they won't experience the freedoms that flag gives us.
Do you think burning the flag is a type of freedom?
No, I don't.
Freedom? I honestly never understood the if you don't like it, leave thing. Oh no, my sink is broken. Better go buy a new house. If you don't like America's freedom to burn their own flag, why don't you go to communist China? Huh? Bitch. It's so funny how now that I'm in the comfort of my own home, far away from any of these people, I'm like, bitch. But in person, I'm just like, you want to execute them? That's so funny. But it is a little funny to see us like laughing with a lot of these people who may or may not have stormed the Capitol later on in the day. Oh my God. A lot of the answers I got to the question of what's an acceptable punishment for someone who burns the flag was fine them. Make them pay a fine.
I think they should at least minimally be fined.
Civil fine. Fine or imprisonment.
A fine or imprisonment. Like there's a Scottish YouTuber who had to pay an £800 fine for telling an edgy joke online. What's 800 pounds in normal? I'm not sure, but anyway. And there were people online like, who cares? It's only 800 pounds. A single cent is too much to pay for simply using your freedom of speech, for telling a joke. And I heard the same exact shit from people talking about Trump saying he wants to put people in jail for a year for burning the flag, and bootlickers were like, it's just a year, it's not a big deal. A second!
Yeah, well, here's the thing about it. When it comes to the whole flag burning thing, again, people have all kinds of opinions on it and everything. And to me, it's such a subtle issue, and people are still obsessed with the whole flag burning thing to this day. It triggers them. And a lot of them claim they're for free speech. And not only do they think it ought to be criminalized, they think it ought to be like, people ought to be like severely punished. I mean, like physically at worst or fined at best. But, again, this is the kind of authoritarianism when you comb right through it, you see where the authoritarianism is. And BDS laws that are set up around the country. And down in Texas, you had a speech therapist, a Palestinian speech therapist, who lost her job because Governor Abbott came up with a law where state employees have to go and sign a loyalty oath to Israel. Now, I mean, what business is a state government doing getting involved with a foreign policy issue in the Middle East? What does Israel have to do with how you govern Texas? Abby Martin had to go, she went to go speak at some university in Georgia, but had to sign a loyalty oath. And she took that to the state Supreme Court in Georgia, and it was overturned. But around the country, several states have that dumb law where you go and urge boycott of Israel, which there's no other country in the world you could do that to. That's preventable by law. You could get fined up to $250,000 and put 20 years in prison. I don't know if anybody who's that actually have had that level of punishment happen to them, but the fact that's in the law books in over half the states in this country is frightening. And there are several senators, and this is, it's bipartisan. Democrats and Republicans alike have actually advocated making this a national law in this country. So this sort of thing. So, Twitter could definitely shut down the BDS movement on Twitter, for example. This sort of thing that could happen. I mean, this is the kind of thing what I mean by Twitter censorship continues. It's just censorship continuing in general. And that's a problem overall. It is. So we have, I'm just going to gently mention last time tonight, KRTD Media has what we call chat lines. So if, you can find it in your heart to donate, whatever amount, you can, much appreciative. So there is that. So what I would like to do right now is to talk to each and every one of you. And then I'll follow up with some announcements and call it and go, conclude with the show this evening. So, Amber HK Grigio from KRTD says, good evening and shared. Hey, how are you doing today, Amber? Snipe Hunter, I know who you are. Hey, how are you doing? Let's see here. It's you again. Willie isn't a free speech absolutist. He censored me. No, I didn't, Matthew. You kept on insulting me on Facebook, and putting up with abuse. Putting up with abuse isn't free speech. You do not have a right to verbally abuse people online, and that's what it comes down to. I never showed any uncivil discourse toward you, but you had toward me, and you had toward one of my friends the other day, and I just couldn't take it anymore. So I hate it that it has to come to that, but you brought it on yourself, and that wasn't censorship. Don't be a victim. Willie censor free speech he doesn't like. He's a hypocrite. No, I am not a hypocrite. And stop being a crybaby, and stop being a hypocrite, and you stop being a hypocrite, and stop being a victim. Let's see. Let's see here. Remember domain. Yep. Let's see. John Germania. Hey, how you doing, Lana Dell? Gregory Millard. Hey, how are you? Let's see. Let me do this here. New comments. Scrolling down. Where's kind of on a time thing here. Sorry about that, folks. Let's see. It's Lucy. Lucy's back. Hey, Blue Moon Red Wine. How are you doing, Lucy? Long time. Let's see here. Greetings and salutations, says Tech Vahana. Amber says, good evening, my lovelies, and good evening. And let's see. Big Silver Orb says, hey, Willie, Russia, Russia, Russia. Am I right? I know that Rachel Maddow likes to say Russia, Russia, Russia. Let's see here. Dirtbag leftist, you're realizing that insults, you're realizing that without insults, you have nothing to say. That's true. And he was doing some insulting on Facebook the other day. First Amendment only applies to government, Willie. Well, I think that the First Amendment needs to apply all across the board. There's too much silencing that's going on, and social media is the new public square. Let's see. I'm starting to think Bernie 24 is not a fantasy. I am not sure how I'm going to deal with electoral politics anymore. I'm kind of deeply committed to the idea of worker strike back with Kashama Sawant. I think she's kind of onto something. The long-term goal of an independent working class party is what's needed, in my opinion. But that's another subject for another time, I guess. I mean, he's clearly more cogent than Trump and Biden. Now, I would say this about Bernie. Bernie has always been a free speech absolutist. There is that. I'm much rather be beholden to American corporate state than to a Russian fascist state. How about none of the above? Let's see. The Young Turks have started to, the Young Turks have started their attempts at the lost Fox viewers. Their nonstop anger and agitation pass. Yeah, I kind of stopped watching the Young Turks 2 years ago over the Aaron Maté, Jimmy Dore fiasco. Let's see. I'm a meme factory. We would love to show you a few. Okay, well, be okay. If you want to ever come on the show, just let me know. We'll have a chat. Let's see here. AOC is a bartender idiot. I used to defend AOC, but she's been acting very idiotically for quite some time. So I'm not. I don't feel compelled to defend her the way I used to. She's barely passing for legislation. Hope she grows up fast. She needs to grow to freak up. She really does. I mean, she'll go make her little grandstanding speech and then vote for a corporate bill. And she's a fraud. And there's no other way to put it than that. Freaking out on rainbows. Let's see. They tell us they're a Christian, yet never seem to remember what a rainbow represented in their own holy book. Very true, Tech. Very true. The girl eyelashes are clouding her judgment. Regarding shoe on head. Yeah, she's got quite some eyelashes for sure. Karen I cannot pronounce your name, but I think you follow me on Twitter. Hi, Willie Bragg Show. Hey, how are you doing today? Let's see. Big silver orb. Yet I am mysteriously drawn to her. Oh, you talking about shoe on head? She's quite attractive. Let's see. I know in some left wing circles you're not supposed to objectify, but I'm not that kind of a lefty, Let's see. Anyhow, I'm here to take you to task on Russia business, which indeed almost turning up into Russia and Russian. Yeah, I mean, again, I mean, you're projecting what you're projecting about me, and I can assure you, you're wrong about your projection. But I mean, I'm not going to fault you for it. Absolutely agnostic on flag burning. I wouldn't do it, but if others feel compelled, let's go nuts. It's their soul, not mine. That's kind of my attitude right there. Let's see. Hi, Karen. Fancy meeting you here. Hand pink and waving, says Dessert Mantis. How are you doing today? Let's see. Sorry for taking up your comments again. No, don't apologize over that. No. I don't mind any disagreements and all of that. It's all good. It's all good. No problem. Let's see. Hi, Desert Mantis. Fancy for sure. Let's see. Maybe. Let's see here. I just finished watching The Gold Diggers of 1933. Interesting musical during the Depression and Prohibition. Let's see here. Good for you, Willie. I agree. Workers Strike Back is promising and meaningful. Yes, it is. Absolutely. I would love to be on your show, and maybe we can work something out. A Big Silver Orb. If you follow me on Twitter, if you have a Twitter account, you can follow me. I'll follow back, and we'll have a talk. We'll have a discussion about that. And right now, I have a couple of people on the in line, but I usually do interviews with people like once a week, and that's how it works. So we're talking probably at the earliest, maybe 4 or 5 weeks, because I got a couple of people lined up already. But we can talk, we can have a discussion about it and all that. So I have no problems with it. So anyway, folks, let's make an announcement. At midnight will be the secret show. That's Uncle Warren's secret show. With Uncle Warren and Miss Jimmy from KRTD Media. They co-host every Saturday night. So be sure to drop by and see how, drop by, say hello to them and all. So there's that. It's always great listening to them. Great conversations they have, and great way they interact with their audience on the chat line. And let's see, any other announcements I have right now. I cannot think anything at the moment, other than perhaps to come on back here at around 9 o'clock next Saturday, here on the Willie Bragg Show and on KRTD Media, where we do our partnership and co-stream. So if you like what you heard, please press like and comment, because when you press the like button, it helps with the algorithms. Hit that subscribe button and the notification bell. Help make us social media grow in that regard. My channel and KRTD as well. Share the content on this channel or whatever you find on KRTD Media. As a First Amendment absolutist, which is what I talked about for the past almost 2 hours here. As a First Amendment absolutist, it's my duty to inform you to create your own platform and utilize it, because we are, in fact, the muckrakers of our time. And remember to always reject corporate media, because corporate media has absolutely not a damn thing to offer to us. Nothing. So always get a second opinion. Always get 22 opinions as you can. So until next week, I'll be back here with the Willie Bragg Show here on Saturday, the Willie Bragg Show Saturday night feature. And of course, throughout the week, you'll see me streaming as I normally do. And Monday at 7 p.m., I will be interviewing Jamar Jabari. So just, come on over here at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And until next time, folks, I am Willie Bragg, and we shall meet again. Take care. And I'm trying to think if there's anything else I need to mention. I'm trying to remember. Right offhand, I can't think of anything. So anyway, take care. See y'all next time. Peace.